Today, let's brew coffee using an AeroPress. This is an AeroPress. It's an amazing coffee maker that can brew a smooth, full-body, low-acidity cup of coffee for you. But so many people can't make a good cup of coffee using the AeroPress. Their coffee will often taste bitter or sour, and the main reason is most coffee lovers don't respect the AeroPress. This might confuse you, but let me explain. For the 6 years that I've worked as a professional barista, I've noticed something interesting. Whenever someone comes and buys a V60, Chemex and Kalita, they will buy a coffee weighing scale so that they can measure the amount of coffee and the amount of water. They will also buy freshly roasted coffee beans so that they can extract the best flavors into their cup of coffee. They will also buy a thermometer or a temperature controlled kettle so that they can control the temperature of their water for brewing their cup of coffee. But on the other hand, people that are buying the AeroPress or already brewing their cup of coffee using the AeroPress, they are not using these things. So they are not using a weighing scale. They won't know what's the right amount of water and the amount of coffee for brewing their AeroPress. They don't use even thermometers, so they don't know what temperature of water is best for the type of coffee beans that they are using to brew the AeroPress. And some of them are using very old and low quality coffee beans. And this is what results into that bad taste into your cup of coffee when you're using the AeroPress. This has led to most people giving up on brewing coffee using the AeroPress. But this video is going to fix this today, because in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to be sharing the basic knowledge about the AeroPress, a step-by-step guide that you can use as a beginner barista or as a home barista and make a good cup of coffee using the AeroPress. And lastly, I'm going to be sharing a barista AeroPress tip that will fix the taste of your coffee that you've brewed using the AeroPress, so that you and I can have the best experience when brewing coffee using the AeroPress. So let's dive in, because it's AeroPress time. The AeroPress was invented in 2005 by an American engineer known as Alan Adler. His goal of inventing the AeroPress, he wanted to brew coffee which is low on acidity and less bitter. This is when he made this amazing coffee brew method. There are 6 parts of the AeroPress that you will need to assemble so that you can make your cup of coffee. The 3 most important one is the chamber, the plunge, which has the rubber at the base, it fits inside the chamber, and the cap or the lid where the paper filter fits and it closes at the chamber. When you're brewing, you're using pressure to extract your coffee. On top of that, you can brew the AeroPress the normal way, which is like this, or you can brew it the inverted way, which is like this. But for this video, I'm going to be using the inverted way because this is the best way that we use as baristas to brew the AeroPress, because it gives us more long contact time between the water and the coffee, which will result into that good taste in your final cup of coffee. So the first step is the water for brewing the AeroPress. To brew a good cup of coffee, you need to use good quality of water, not your tap water. So you can use filtered water and also boil the water on a 92-degree temperature if you're using a medium roast. If you're using a light roast, you can increase on the temperature. Make sure to use a thermometer or a temperature controlled kettle when boiling the water. Next is the coffee beans. The quality of coffee beans will determine the quality of the final cup of coffee that you get. If you use freshly roasted coffee beans, this is what is going to enable you to extract the best flavor in your cup of coffee. I would recommend, if possible, grind your coffee fresh each time that you're going to brew your AeroPress. Now I'm going to be using a weighing scale to measure the amount of coffee that I need to brew the AeroPress. We're going to be using 18 grams and I'm going to be using a brew ratio of 1:14. By now, if you're someone who has been following my videos, you're not new to coffee brew ratios. You know what I mean if I say like I'm using 18 grams and I'm using a brew ratio of 1:14. If you've been watching my videos, I would like you to calculate this brew ratio, a 1:14 when I'm using 18 grams. Post your answer in the comment section below. I'll check it out before I reveal it while I'm brewing the AeroPress. And I'm going to grind it on a medium fine grind size, slightly finer than the grind size of the V60. This is my grind size. As you can see, it's a medium to fine grind size, slightly finer than the grind size of the V60. Now next, I'm going to be assembling my AeroPress. I get my planche, fit it into the chamber just below number 4. Next, I'm going to preheat the AeroPress so that I can warm it up before starting to brew my cup of coffee. The AeroPress comes with also a funnel that you can use to pour the coffee inside the AeroPress chamber. After pouring in the coffee, now as I said, the brew ratio is 1:14. So each 1 gram of coffee is equivalent to 14 ml of water. So if I'm using 18 grams, I'm going to multiply it with 14 for me to get 252. This is the amount of water that I'm going to need to pour into this coffee so that I can make my AeroPress. I start by adding in 50 ml of water as my first stage, which is known as the brewing period of the AeroPress. This is when the coffee releases the gas. Around 15 seconds, I'm going to use the AeroPress stir to stir gently the coffee grinds so that they can all be wet with the water. At 30 seconds, we are going to be pouring in the remaining amount of water at the same time. After pouring in all the 200 ml, I'm going to get my paper filter, fit it in the lid and pre-wet it. I pre-wet it on top of my vessel so that I can also warm up the vessel that I'm going to press the coffee in. This helps me keep the consistency of my coffee temperature. 1.5 minutes, I put on the lid. I cover my AeroPress with the lid. Then 2 minutes, I flip it and start pressing. So I press gently so that I can evenly extract my AeroPress into the jug. You press it until you hear the hissing sound. This means you've finished extracting all the coffee from the AeroPress. Your brewing time for the AeroPress should be around 2 minutes and 30 seconds. This is our AeroPress. It has finished brewing. This is an amazing cup of coffee. It's really smooth, low acidity and full body. If you find this coffee to be strong, this is where the barista AeroPress tip comes. If you find the coffee that you've brewed using the AeroPress to be more strong, you can do something that baristas will call bypassing. Bypassing means I add the hot water into my already brewed coffee until I can achieve that perfect taste of my coffee. This is the most special character about the AeroPress. You can brew a very strong cup of coffee using the AeroPress, then you can bypass or dilute it with milk, ice, to make other different coffee drinks like the Americano, ice latte, and the lattes. This is one of the main things that makes the AeroPress stand out amongst other coffee brew methods. But if you want to know the difference between a V60 Chemex and AeroPress, I would recommend for you to watch this video next because it's a full guide showing you the difference between a V60 Chemex and AeroPress.